So I really messed up here with blue. As you can see, there's no longer a wide body on the car. Matt and I came over here the other day to try to finish installing it, or at least get it as installed as possible. And let's just say I made a few major mistakes when I decided to put it on by myself the first time. Specifically the fact that I installed the kit about half an inch lower than it should have been. So I actually got rid of the kit. Here's some footage of when Matt and I attempted to install this thing. I can admit when I have f***ed up, and I have f***ed up pretty bad. This is probably, I'm gonna say this is probably the worst mistake I think I've ever made. I think it's the worst.
So essentially for anyone that's installing a Varis kit or something like it, this line right here, it's not where it'll confuse a lot of people is with flare kits, you normally leave a little bit for the flare, so it's almost like a double edge here. With kits like this, where it's the wide body, it's gonna accentuate the body line that was already there. So looking at it flat, we need to make sure that these line up with this line in the body. So this had to come up a little bit, and then this, which I'm sure is the same on the Varis kit, it might have more stuff to tell you where things are supposed to go a little better than this, but this starting of this line is gonna accentuate this inner line right here.
So that kit's gone. I am in the process of getting another kit, and I now have a lot of things to fix on this car, but you know, I'm staying positive here. It's gonna look sick when it's done. Just right now it looks like a real hoopty, and my engine still hasn't shipped, so we're about to throw in the mock-up engine again, so that way I can keep going on wiring harnesses. That sun is very brutal right now. Specifically speaking, with the body kit, as you can see, there are now a ton of riv nuts in the back door and the rear quarter panel. You might notice back here in the rear quarter panel, there are some decent sized holes, right? I now get the pleasure of drilling those bigger and welding plugs in there. I've already ordered a plug kit from Eastwood. Thankfully they have one, so I can go ahead and weld up all these holes that I did. The whole car is gonna get repainted. I've already decided it. We are gonna change the color of blue. It's still going to be blue, but it's gonna be a different shade of blue. If you guys have noticed on like Instagram, I alter the color of blue a little bit to be more of like an aqua type blue. It's like a tropical aqua style. It looks good. So the whole car is gonna get repainted. That hood is gonna disappear. We're gonna swap to a carbon fiber hood. I'm gonna make this car actually look the way it deserves to look and not hacked up like I was doing to it. The body kit I'm looking at is in Russia, so I'm having a real difficult time getting a hold of the company, so fingers crossed I can actually get a hold of them. So, like I said, I got a lot of work to fix on the body. Next up, we are going to get that mock-up engine back into this engine bay. We're gonna continue wiring everything up down here in the mess of wires to get this harness a little more organized, a little more complete. We can probably do some of the fab stuff for the turbo relocation, and we can just keep going on everything else. And then once our engine gets here, we can just build the engine, put the engine in, plug everything in, put it all on there, and start the car. So let's just start today off. Let me get that old mock-up EG33 hooked up to the chain. Let's get this thing put back in the car. So I had to run back to the house, go grab the intake manifold for this thing, but the engine is in. Now we have to go through here and start getting everything kind of bolted up as if it were like a simulated real engine in here right now. So that way for this harness, we can start figuring out where we're gonna start going with everything. So let me get the engine bay somewhat reassembled right now, and then we'll jump over to wiring. I have some stuff I need to sandblast, bring back to the house, and Cerakote also. I may do that in this. I don't know if I can do that in this video. We'll see. I forgot I have no fender on this thing. I just tried to lean on it. So let's start reassembling this engine bay to get it looking like a real car again, so we can start building this engine harness. Now I want to give a huge shout out to Mint Mobile for partnering with us today on this video. If you guys don't know who or what Mint Mobile is they're an extremely affordable wireless network that still gives you fantastic coverage. We've actually been using Mint Mobile for about a year in the house now. Now you guys may have already heard of Mint Mobile before from some of the funny Ryan Reynolds ads, since he is an owner and an active user on the network.
Hey there, it's Ryan Reynolds, owner of Mint Mobile. Enticing, right?
I genuinely like Mint Mobile. I don't like doing sponsored videos unless it's something we have used or will use. So this is actually something we have used in a while. Now I wanted to prove it to you guys real quick before like trying to just continue with the ad blow smoke up your butt. We got two phones here that we actively use in the household. First one right up in the corner, Mint. Also Mint. Because one of the main reasons that we swapped over there was to save a little bit of money. You can get plans as low as $15 a month and still have access to incredible 5G speeds. And swapping over to Mint is incredibly easy. Now one of the reasons why Mint is so affordable is because they sell directly to you online. There are no stores you go to, there are no salespeople you have to deal with. You can just go online, use Mint's eSIM cards to be able to transfer service on your phone from whoever you had before over to Mint. And if your phone doesn't have a SIM card that is swappable, they will mail you a new one. And if you need any help, they have very good customer service to be able to help you walk you through the process. Plus it's nice because Mint also offers modern family plans, so if you have a bigger household that needs to use a lot of phones, you have access to be able to set up a plan for that. And down in the description below or on the screen, you can go to our link and go save yourself some money and swap to that good, reliable network. Now let's get back to working on these cars, because we always go, there's always work to be done. Everything is now mocked up as if it were our actual EG. I've got the injectors, fuel, all the fun stuff, everything's in here so that way I can start wiring. So the first thing I'm gonna do is start to figure out kind of where I want to route this harness. Last time I had it routing up and then coming straight down. I think I may do the same thing again. It doesn't quite make sense to try to run it along this frame rail and then cut up and in here, because it's just going to, actually I might be able to do that right here. I don't know. Let me play with kind of how I want to route this right now, and then we can start getting things figured out. We can start mapping out the wiring harness, get things going where they're going to be going. We no longer have power steering, so that frees up this whole spot right here, which is actually real. Well, we still have power steering, it's just electric power steering now, so we have this whole free spot here now, which is kind of nice. And we just have our alternator right there. This is going to look so much better with a polished intake manifold. This fun polished guy, that guy I'll probably just leave raw aluminum, but dude, that looks good. I'm also re-cerakoting all this, but we'll do that at a later point. So let's start with our big old harness over there. Engine harness wiring, I kind of decided this is where it's going to run. It'll come out from those two bulkheads. It'll use that little P-clip to keep it held in place here and then run up under the manifold there. And then now I kind of got to figure out where everything's going to branch out to, because the turbo will be over there, so it'll keep heat away from stuff. We're going to have a big empty space back there, but I think I'll just keep the catch can back there. That seems to make the most sense for the catch can. And then over here will just be another big kind of empty spot. I think the fuel system stuff will just all kind of go up in that area. So sweet! That's the one problem with this car, and I wish I could just push everything back, because as you guys can see, everything's so close to the front of the car, and there's just so much room back here. But in order to push everything back, we'd have to do like an entirely different setup for like suspension, subframe, and everything like that, because the whole transmission subframe would have to go back for the axles to still line up with the hubs. So it's just, we're not to that level of being able to do things like that yet, but that's okay. We'll get there one day. For now, we're gonna keep doing what we can do, which is more wiring. So let me start branching out this harness to see where all it's going to go. I don't want to sheath anything past that point yet. Otherwise, it's going to become impossible to build this harness. So start wiring things out and mapping. Dear Lord, man, wiring takes so long. It's starting to get dark outside, but check this out. So I want to talk about this, especially with wiring, because you'll come across different people saying, use solder, don't use solder, use XYZ, use XYZ. This is the most proper way to make a wire harness, and if anybody out there says otherwise, please just give me a valid reason as to why you think so. Open barrel crimps done properly. So these little open barrel crimps, essentially, when done right, are essentially like a cold weld for wire, and to obviously tug test them to make sure they're not going to separate. I've already done that. I'm not going to yeet on it with one hand, otherwise it's going to break. But these are what I prefer. Some people will tell you solder. I don't advise using solder on an engine harness. What's going to happen is over time, the vibration from the engine is going to break down that solder. You're going to start losing or having really bad connections on a lot of things, especially for things like this where it's sensor supply, because this orange and white wire right here is sensor supply for, it's 8-volt sensor for oil pressure and for fuel pressure, which will eventually be over there. But you don't want to have issues with these, and obviously I'm going to put some DR25 over to that to make sure that it stays there. But it's like, this is what takes so long, and this is the hard part of building the harness, is mapping everything out to where it's all going to go. Like this gray with red stripe right here, that's for fuel pressure. We needed an 8-volt sensor supply, so this longer orange and white wire right here is sensor supply, but I only have one 8-volt sensor supply, so I had to tee that off because I have oil pressure and fuel pressure that I'm going to have the car monitor. I was going to do coolant pressure, but I kind of ran out of AVI inputs. It's no big deal. See, I still have like, dude, it's just all this stuff. I still have to go through like all these wires here, which is like ignition, throttle body, ambient air temp, crank position, cam position's over there. Just a ton of stuff going into this, you guys. So I've been doing this for probably like 3.5 hours at this point, just getting the mapping done on this so we don't have a massive bundle of wires up there, because while we wait for an engine, we might as well knock out all this small tedious stuff so when the engine comes back, we can get everything ready to go. So I'm going to keep referencing both of my pinout documents here for what goes where. I'm almost through this big bundle of wires here. Once I get through these, I'm probably going to call it a night, and then maybe tomorrow I'll start sheathing this and keep going on this. We'll see. But the way that I'm doing the harness now is, last time I had it come from that grommet up there, do a straight 90, and then come straight down the pitch stop. Don't ask me why I do it. Also, I don't know who let me build a harness last time. This is the worst thing I have ever seen. Like, I'm surprised the car even worked on this thing. It is a hot mess. Learning, that's what I call this. Learning, that's all garbage. After I get that harness made, because I'm pulling some scrap wire out of there to just match colors on things. So sweet. Let me keep going on this and get through these last little bits of wires to get everything kind of mapped out to where it's all going to go. So I just want to put this in perspective for you guys. That time lapse that you just watched was about 4.5 hours of me wiring. Now I want to show you guys what I've accomplished in that 4.5 hours. I want you to understand that when you go to get a custom or professional motor, and I'm not doing a full-on professional grade motorsport harness. This is as professional as I understand and I know how to do. And dude, I want you to also understand that this harness so far has cost me about $2,000 for an engine harness. Now, when I say this has cost me about $2,000, I want you to understand that includes the bulkhead connectors, all of the wire sheathing, the DR25, the base Haltech harness, Tefzel wiring. I've bought connections, OEM connectors. I'm about $2,000 deep into a harness like this. So we've got both the bulkhead connectors coming out, wrapping up and around. This is going to go to injectors 1, 3, and 5. These are for the thermo fans, which I still have to add ground wires for. Right here we've got our boost controller, we've got our main harness going up. Right here is where it splits off, and this will branch off into many more branches, but this is everything that's going to go towards the front of the car, like crank position, ignition wires, air temperature, oil pressure, things like that. Coming off on that branch over there, we've got things like injectors 2, 4, and 6, ethanol sensor, fuel pressure, and many more things, battery ground, just a whole bunch of stuff. And there's still more I need to add to this before I can even sheath any of it, because I need to add wires that go to all of the ignition coils that ground out to the cylinder heads, and that also ground out to the battery. So there's a lot that goes into building these harnesses, like going back and forth between building this harness, referencing documents that I've written, referencing Haltech documents, measuring where wires are going, figure out how I'm going to integrate everything in. So let me get it put back in the engine bay so that way I can give you guys a little perspective of kind of how things look right now. Grab all this stuff. Let me tell you right now, my back hurts, but this thing is coming out nice. This guy, and I've built it in a way where you can't mess up which bulkhead connector goes to which spot. They really only go to one spot each. It's kind of the base layout of the harness. It'll come out from the firewall here, come out, it's mounted to the frame rail. It'll go behind the engine or behind the cylinder head down here, wrap up on top of the engine. This is one major Y where everything's gonna either go towards the driver's head or the center of the engine. If it's going towards the center of the engine, we have things like knock sensor, oil pressure, oil temperature, 6 coil packs, the crank position sensor, the air temperature sensor, the throttle body, everything like that. So this is about 4 hours worth of work just to get everything kind of laid out like this. And it'll probably be another 10 to 16 hours that I'm gonna have to put into this harness. But once it's done, dude, it'll be the greatest thing I've ever built for electrical and wiring, and I am pretty damn proud of it. So I'm gonna call it a night because my fucking back hurts from leaning over this thing all day. So catch you guys in the morning. Just gonna go back to the shop later and keep working on the harness off camera. I had to order some more wiring supplies last night, specifically some like labeling stuff, some more wire sheathing, DR25, things like that. Because there's always more that you could use, there's always more that you need, and it's just never ending. But quickly on the WRX, before I end this video, I need to fix this car because I broke the WRX. And it's not a crazy hard fix. The turbo support bracket for the up pipe that goes to the block, the nut that I had on there fell off, so I need to put a new one on there, tighten that down. And then the downpipe support bracket broke because of that. Technically speaking, all I need to do is get the turbo support bracket back on there for now, and then I can re-weld that later. The whole turbo kit moves a handsome amount. So I'm gonna pull that intake off real quick, get down in there, get a nut and bolt back on that turbo support bracket, and then we should be good. I'm gonna use one with a thread lock on it because the last one vibrated off. We don't want that to happen again because that will start breaking welds and whatnot. So sick. Let's get that fixed real quick. Not as quick of a fix as I was hoping it would have been, but this is all right, I guess. There's just no room to get your hand in here. Don't let your nuts come loose, boys and girls. You're going to have quite the bad time, and your turbo is going to make some very fun noises. That's so weird. It wasn't even my welds that broke on the downpipe support bracket. It was the material. The material literally sheared in half. This was the only thing holding the turbo kit in place because the other turbo support bracket that I did, well, the nut came off. So easy fix. I got a lock nut on there now, a lock washer and everything like that. At some point in the future, I'll remake this downpipe support bracket. It's not a big deal, but sweet. WRX is fixed. It's working again. I thought I had broken the transmission mount originally, so now I have an IAG transmission mount on the way to replace the Group N one that I have in the car. So I'll get that swapped out today, get the WRX off of the quick jacks, and then I'm gonna go back to the shop to keep fixing all of my old mistakes on Blue, which we have a lot of them. Luckily, I was able to get in contact with the company that we're gonna be getting our new wide body from, so that should be here around, I wanna guess June is the estimated time frame we're looking at. I'm gonna keep going on the wiring to fix the wiring. There's just so many mistakes that I had made the first time when I went through and done this swap, and I thought I was doing everything the right way because I was naive. I don't wanna say I was cocky, but I thought I knew what I was doing when in reality, with that engine harness, I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, it worked, so I guess I kind of knew what I was doing, but in the end, it wasn't to the standard that I wanted it. So I've got like labels coming to label things, injectors 1 through 6, coil packs 1 through 6, knock sensors, fuel pressure, all that stuff, so that way everything is properly labeled on this harness as well. So I got for you guys on this one. So once again, huge shout out to today's video partner, Mint Mobile. If you guys are looking for that stuff, like I said, down below in the description, there will be some more information on that. If you like the video, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it turns for you. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be able to put it in one of these corners, no idea which one quite yet, but with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies. Woo!